Brooklyn Independent Television.
Straight ahead on Sector B, the business of Brooklyn. In Bed-Stuy, a local retailer hopes a new app will help bring in customers who are asking a very specific question.
So where are all the other Black-owned businesses?
In Bushwick, a young rug designer and importer sets up shop. But what do old t-shirts have to do with it?
I think they're just the bee's knees. They're really cool, actually.
And in Boerum Hill, a store fulfills just about any musical need you can think of.
Private lessons, group lessons.
Violin strings, cello strings.
I want to buy a ukulele someday, but I'm waiting till I have some free time to learn it.
So go ahead, tune up, tune in, and get with the program.
Hello, I'm Randy Piers. Welcome to Sector B, the business of Brooklyn on Brooklyn Independent Television. Today, businesses try to appeal to specific groups and persuade them to shop at hyper-local markets, not just on the street, but online. To grab our attention, they use a mix of screens to offer an infinite universe of apps and websites. But what if it's the customer who wants to target a particular demographic? To illustrate, Sector B's Tati Amara takes us into Bed-Stuy.
Brooklyn has officially gone from up and coming to arrived as a hot spot in New York City. And with neighborhoods like Bedford-Stuyvesant going through a growth spurt, the new changes are a welcome addition.
I've been living in Bedford-Stuyvesant for 15 years, and the community has grown exponentially.
Real estate broker Jamila Swift explains the new interest in the neighborhood by professionals from around the city.
You can get a lot more for your money here. We have the most beautiful brownstones, and then there are a lot of new construction condominiums that are coming as well. We live in a very diverse community where you just have a totally different flavor than any other section of Brooklyn, and I think a lot of the newcomers are really appreciating that.
And with newcomers come new businesses.
You have a lot of restaurants coming in, a lot of cafes are starting to invest here. Wine bars are coming as well. I mean, there was a while where we had to go to Fort Greene to get a meal that didn't involve a bulletproof window. But now it's nice to be able to sit down and take your family and your friends to a location here.
And in this predominantly African American neighborhood, there's now an app to help Black businesses compete.
I was walking down the street in my neighborhood where I saw on the side of a window that said Black-owned business in big orange letters. It's not common to see that on windows of stores. And I was like, oh, that's nice to know. Like, I know that you're a Black-owned business. That's cool. So I was thinking, all right, so where are all the other Black-owned businesses?
And the idea for the Around the Way app was born. We caught up with creator and CEO Janine at local wine store Bed Vine, who's also listed on the app.
Marketing dollars are hard to come by for small businesses. And social media definitely is a equalizer for small businesses to get in the space and market for free.
And Bedvine co-owner Michael Brooks agrees.
Today's environment has changed so much over the last, we'll say, even 5 years. Now with the social media and the applications that are around, it allows small businesses to compete against the big boys. So I think these social media platforms allow for innovation for small businesses.
And this platform works like this.
Right now we have about 15,000 businesses within the app and about 20,000 users nationwide. So the app works by literally finding you from your GPS positioning, which is already built in your phone, and then it lists all the businesses around you, the Black-owned businesses in our database. So you open the app and you select your category. Looking for Bedvine, and it pops right up. So we'll get the address, and you get the website and the phone number. You can share it via Facebook, Twitter, email, text. If I was a small business, I'd probably want to, create an audience and market in a free way. It can get out to a bigger audience than just having a flyer that you pass out in the street. That was all we had, a few years ago.
And as a small business owner, Michael also sees the app as a way of building community.
I think it's important for other people to realize that when you support a quote-unquote Black business, you're supporting a small business where resources are going to stay in that community.
That's why we created the app, because we noticed that we have such this big buying power. Everyone talks about this buying power by 2015 and it'll be $1 trillion, but then we have small businesses that are falling and failing, daily.
And what are the app's plans for the future?
There's different ideas that we have for growth. So we're just taking it, quarter by quarter to see where we're going.
In Bedford-Stuyvesant, for Sector B, I'm Tati Amara.
Cheers.
The Brooklyn Navy Yard is one of the most dynamic institutions in all of Brooklyn. And these days, that's saying a lot. Many people know it for housing Steiner Studios, where film and TV production is booming. But that's just the beginning. The Navy Yard is so full of manufacturers, entrepreneurs, artists, and designers that you could say the only thing they're not building there is ships. Then there's the remarkable Building 92, home to exhibits, public tours, education, and workforce development. Joining me are Daniella Romano, Vice President of Building 92 Exhibits and Programs, and Cristal Rivera, Director of Workforce Development. Thank you both for being here.
Thanks so much for having us here, Randy.
So Daniella, let's start with you.
Okay.
I know you've been at the Navy Yard for some time, and I know you've seen the project Building 92 from beginning to end. So tell us about Building 92 and what its history was and what its origins were.
Building 92 was an initiative that we established in about 2007. In the surrounding neighborhood, so many people were curious about what was happening inside the yard, what is happening here today, and what has happened here historically. And so we really wanted to use this as an opportunity to kind of lift the veil on both the extraordinary history of the site, but also provide access to the industrial park today and really enlighten people on the sheer amount of work, ingenuity, innovation, and design talent that is slogging away in areas like metal fabrication, woodworking, film production, like you said. So we established an exhibit titled Brooklyn Navy Yard Past, Present, and Future, which tells the whole history of the site, focusing on today's yard, but building on this heritage of craft and industry that dates us back to the earliest days of the United States. And then we work really closely with Brooklyn Historical Society as well to design and deliver educational programs to bring students into the yard so that they're essentially growing up with kind of the assumption of the industrial park and this rich history in their backyard.
So what are some of the public programs that you're currently offering?
We offer very popular bus and bicycle tours in partnership with a local business, Turnstile Tours, and the founder, Cindy Vanden Bosch. We also have just launched factory tours, which is a great way to get into a behind-the-scenes experience of the Navy Yard, put on a hard hat, get out onto a factory floor, learn about the design process and product development that really is.
So these are
enlivening
existing
the yard.
businesses.
Mm-hmm.
What types
Absolutely.
of businesses?
Our first tour was with Ice Stone, which is a recycled glass countertop manufacturer. So visitors come into Building 92, they get to see the product in situ, and then get on a bus, get a little bit of an architectural and historical tour of the yard on their way out to the factory, and then we walk into the factory, and from there it's a very detail-oriented but engaging experience to learn about product design, product development, and the experience of the workforce on the factory floor. Our next tour will be Making Woodwork, which is about a collaborative of woodworkers all co-located in one building, and again the same kind of process where you can see some locally produced carpentry work inside Building 92, and then a little bit of a walking tour over to the site, and you learn about different production processes for a variety of these kind of smaller scale woodworkers.
So we hear about the Brooklyn Navy Yard being really an industrial success story. And there's a lot of jobs being created there. And Cristal, this is where you come in. I mean, the Navy Yard sits at the nexus of several different communities, including Fort Greene. There are a number of housing developments, New York City NYCHA housing developments outside the yard. There's a lot of folks looking for work. Tell us about the employment programs that the Navy Yard offers.
So the Employment Center is actually located in Building 92, along with the programs and exhibits. Previously, for about 10 years, it was located a mile in the yard. In August of 2011, the Employment Center gained some private funding, and we were able to kind of ramp up and beef up what we were doing with a really strong emphasis on local hiring. So as you mentioned, Randy, we have a lot of local New York City Housing Authority residents living right around the area of the Navy Yard. So we wanted to really move it to the perimeter, be in Building 92, have a local access, really being able to get in from the actual sidewalk. It's our first public entrance into the Navy Yard, and be able to link people to employment with our businesses. So, we, as Daniella mentioned, we celebrate all of the tenants in Building 92, past, present, future. But in our employment center, we work with them to help them find really good candidates in our local community. So we work with the community organizations that service residents in the area, including our lead training partners, which are Opportunities for Better Tomorrow, as well as Brooklyn Workforce Innovations. So we've kind of come a long way. We also focus on veterans. Those are, a big target for us, being that it's a natural home for veterans to come and work in the Navy Yard, given its history. So, we're really excited.
And you offer some job training programs as well.
We do. So we, part of the kind of revamp of the Employment Center was to include some training opportunities for local community members. So as I mentioned, Brooklyn Workforce Innovations, they're actually co-located in the Employment Center with us, and they run a Made in New York production assistant training program, which actually helps people get into entry-level positions in production in movies and television. We've also recently launched our first Navy Yard training program with GMD Shipyard Repair. So basically they repair ships. We were able to pipeline local job seekers into entry-level positions there as general laborers and fire guard watches, which might sound like jargon, but they're actually great jobs, and they offer a real career ladder for people. So we're excited to kind of kick off with a lot more training programs and offer some great opportunities to local job seekers.
So there are still shipyards in the Navy Yard.
Exactly, right?
And it's ship repair, not shipbuilding.
Right, ship repair, correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about Building 92 itself. I mean, what was the history of that building, and what was the idea behind sort of turning it into this new dynamic sort of institution?
Building 92 itself, the history of the building, it was designed by architect Thomas Eustick Walter, who was the fourth architect of the Capitol, way back in 1857. And in fact, Building 92 was under construction when Walter received his notification that his Capitol dome design had been accepted by the federal government. So it's a nationally significant site. And we sought immediately to kind of work with the local workforce, local businesses, to engage in the construction process. So we've worked with about 20 yard tenants on the whole project, including Capsus Modular Construction, built the modern extension, which houses a great cafe or a very popular event space, the employment center, and a wonderful tenant on the second floor, Construction Kids, which is a woman-owned business that teaches kids how to work with hand tools.
So there is event space available.
Mm-hmm.
Is that event space available to community groups and other nonprofits?
It certainly is, and we urge everybody to reach out to us to learn about our event space rental opportunities. We've got a forecourt right off of Flushing. Building 92 is located on Flushing at Carlton Avenue. So a great event space outdoor that can accommodate about 500 people, and then a cafe space up on the fourth floor, and a great space on the first floor, which can accommodate about 75 people. I think we can accommodate about 700 people altogether, also using the exhibits for circulation space and event space.
So just briefly, because I am fortunate enough to sort of work with you guys in a collaborative way in my other life, and I know that there's big plans for actually expanding the yard and creating additional employment opportunities, particularly along Admiral's Row. So Crystal, you want to just talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So, Admiral's Row, we will be bringing a supermarket onto the perimeter of the yard up there. And from a workforce perspective, we're really looking to engage the local job seekers to be able to bring them in and be part of this new opportunity, as well as, just in general, bringing really good produce and a good supermarket to the area is kind of necessary. It's hard to find good local produce
It's
there.
something in particular that the Williamsburg community has been looking for many years.
Yes, so it's a great, I think it's great in terms of just bringing something there for the community, as well as, retail space in the Navy Yard is kind of unheard of. So this is going to be an exciting endeavor. But we're also looking to really create some strategic plans in workforce to make sure that we're getting people good jobs right in the community.
And how many jobs are we anticipating coming online?
So, the Navy Yard's growing in crazy amounts. So I think over the next couple of years, I think over the next 5 years, looking at 2,000 jobs. I mean,
New
overall,
jobs. Yeah.
yes. But not just in the supermarket, but also with the other development that's happening inside of the yard.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's good for Brooklyn. And I want to thank you both for the work that you're doing and for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Yeah, absolutely.
The Bible tells us to beat our swords into plowshares. It's not nearly as dramatic, but in Bushwick, they're turning their T-shirts into area rugs. What business is behind this recycling/home design project? Sector B's Caroline Shin reports.
We're at Aelfie Rugs, turning rags into rugs.
You know, a little math is involved. You figure, you know, a 2 to 3 inch strip. So hopefully what you can do is maybe get about 5 strips.
This class is the first one. Right now we have 5 looms, so we can take 5 students, and you get to come in with no knowledge of weaving and leave with a t-shirt. Rug. T-shirt rug. Not with a t-shirt, sorry. Leave with a rug.
Which is many t-shirts.
Which is made of many t-shirts, exactly.
This little hobby of mine has started turning into some sort of business. So Aelfie and I are sort of letting this grow organically. I call them upcycled t-shirt rugs.
This one will go
We
the
found
whole
one
way.
for somebody's bar mitzvah, which was pretty funny.
I'm very excited about these t-shirt rugs. I think they're just the bee's knees. They're really cool, actually. They're really soft. And they're a fun alternative to killums, and each one has so much personality.
Is it your first child?
Yeah.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. I'm having a baby and I'm decorating the room, and it's kind of a rainbow explosion at the moment. I don't know if it's a boy or a girl.
Hence the rainbow?
Hence the rainbow, yes.
I'm a sales rep for a merchandising company. Being a sales rep, I go to a lot of gift shows to try to find clients. And I always had this passion for rugs, so she was at the gift show, and when I came across her booth, I noticed her rugs, and we just sparked up a conversation. And then, you know, one thing led to another. She's more fascinated with the process, so she came up with the idea of well, maybe we should teach classes. My rug style is much different than, you know, what she does.
If it's one of the rugs I'm designing for my collection, first I design the rug, whatever that means. Like some weavers will take a drawing. Like I did a rug in Morocco, and it was drawn on the back of a receipt of rugs that I had bought from them. So while the original design was squares within squares within squares, I worked with the weavers to do this sort of interlocking technique here that would maintain the integrity of the design, but also basically not fall apart. I've worked with an individual weaver in the mountains of Morocco. I've worked with a very large group of women in China. I've worked with people in Pakistan and Turkey. But that was a point in my business when I was calling so many factories. I called a lot of people, before I found somebody who seemed legitimate and also not a crook.
This is one of my favorites. This is all onesies.
ABC Carpet approached me at the 2012 Holiday Craft Fair. I have tons and tons of t-shirts in my house, so I started making these rugs, and I started giving them away as gifts. Someone approached me and said, would you do a holiday gift fair? And I was like, I did not want to do it, but my wife encouraged me, so I did it. And it was really successful. I made about 20 rugs, and I sold about half of them. But then a gentleman from ABC Carpet approached me.
And these are my tags, which is sort of like a t-shirt.
Is that a Knicks t-shirt?
Like
blue and orange?
Well, it's funny you said that. It just says basketball. So if you can find t-shirts that have like an embroidered symbol on it, you can sort of save it and try and get the pattern through it.
The most challenging part about starting and running a business have been probably like the unexpected, mundane aspects. Even just forming a business, the paperwork involved with that was pretty complex. Importing something is always the same. You have your broker, you have an agent, You have your inspection fees. When they get there, then you have to pay the trucker to bring it from the port.
Which port does it come into?
Oh my God, it's the most dystopic. It's just the most horrible place on the earth. It's in New Jersey. There's a big prison nearby. Everything's gray. I'm the only woman, one. I was the only woman there when I go to pick up stuff from China, and two, the only person who doesn't have a truck, just because my loads are pretty small.
Did I steal this blue from your table?
Yeah. Well, I'm in a transitional place. I'm not sure if I want to be designing more for other larger companies. I suppose the ultimate destination would be to have a successful brand that integrated vintage textiles and recycled goods into really fresh, contemporary design.
I took 30 to 40 t-shirts.
I like the chunky nature of these. I like that they're machine washable, and also the history of them. I like that it's Joe's concept. It's like any business. I mean, you just have to do it. If you want to go make rugs, you have to go make rugs. It's going to be different. The steps are different every time, and it's always new, and depends on who you're working with.
In Bushwick, we're rolling out the red carpet. For Sector B, this is Caroline Shen.
If you've seen a lot of old movies or TV shows, you know how large a role the general store used to play in our lives. The dry goods merchant was all things to all customers, selling everything from lace to licorice to long johns. Most general stores are gone now, but in Boerum Hill, Sector B's Sherry Carabin found one that's managed to stay alive by playing its own tune.
Nice. Let's go from the very top.
From music lessons to metronomes and mandolin strings, customers can find just about anything at Musician's General Store.
Well, when I take up the uke, I'll buy one of these then.
Cool,
How's
cool.
that? Great. Great. Well, thanks. I knew you'd have them, so
Thank
I'm
you.
here.
I wanted to have a store that could not only do services but supply musicians with just about all the different accessories without having to go to big box stores or, into Manhattan.
This is something that you could put across the keyboard, also for children that are just learning how to play.
Domingo Toll and his wife Roseanne have been on something of a retail space odyssey. They opened the business in 1993 at a location on Amity Street, later moving to Court Street, where they remained until rising real estate prices forced them to close in 2006.
And we had a full-line music store there, and we were there for 10 years.
But several years later, they came upon their current space at 177 Smith Street, which was up for sale, and they decided once again to give it a go. They opened in the fall of 2011, thereby escaping the worst part of the downturn.
That was planned. We basically did not want to open up at a time when we knew that would be an extra challenge to try to overcome that. We saw the economy starting to pick up a little bit. We always had it in the back of our minds that we wanted to reopen again if the time was right, if the location was right. This happened a little sooner than we expected it to happen, but I couldn't pass up the opportunity.
They were here in a previous incarnation, and I was devastated when they closed down. But I understood, people were doing other things. When I found out this was going to open again, I was really thrilled.
Because their new location is much smaller than the building they occupied on Court Street, they have very few large instruments for sale. But the owners still try to stay true to their name, offering nuts and bolts items used by both amateurs and professionals.
Acoustic, electric guitar, and mandolin, banjo, cuatro, ukulele.
How did you come up with the concept for a general store?
When we first walked into the small store that we actually wanted to take over on Amity Street when we first started in '93, had this facade where it was small window panes, and we hadn't come up with a name yet, but we're looking at it and says, that looks like a little general store. Let's call it Musician's General Store. And it fit perfectly with the concept of just wanting to sell accessories.
Harmonicas. These are inexpensive. inexpensive ones. These are for people that are just learning. They're in the
Got it.
KFC.
I'll call it away.
And then we have the more
Get it
professional
fast.
ones in that case over there.
In addition to what's for sale, the owners also rent equipment. They are willing to help customers locate instruments and equipment they don't carry.
We do full entertainment production. That means live sound, stage, video. We also do repair work, minor repair work, guitar and brass woodwind repair. And we have a full music school.
Musicians General Store is open 7 days a week, employing 11 teachers and 2 part-time people. Is this the perfect job for you as a musician?
Hands down, definitely perfect job. Have music, accessories, accessibility, part-time so I can still gig on the weekend.
As for the future, the owners say they're hoping to stay put for the next 10 years, but they are open to growing the business.
More outward, more in the services end of things, more in the school. The school has so much potential still to grow, and carry real specific niche type of accessories where it's a destination for people to come to.
Reporting for Sector B, I'm Sherry Carabin.
That's it this month from Sector B. To watch any of these stories again and to see all of our past business stories, go to our website at brickartsmedia.org/BIT and then click on Sector B. And you can follow us on Facebook or Twitter on BK Independent TV. I'm Randy Piers. Thanks for watching.
Watch this and other Brooklyn Independent Television episodes online at brickartsmedia.org/BIT.